Do you think Ramaphosa will be or should be a witness at this commission?
Absolutely.
I think the DA in some ways has been semi-captured in a way.
No, I don't know why you say semi. They've been captured. Who has funded President Cyril Ramaphosa's campaign for R500 million? Can just somebody just tell us? This country is a true movie. It pains you when you hear a jurist like Zondo saying, I was embarrassed having to swear these people in office after I spent 4 years of my life listening to the horror story of their corruption.
Fam, I just want to give a shout out to the sponsor of today's episode, Pace Car Rental. Use promo code SMWX and make sure you show Pace some love as they're showing this channel some love. Now, let's get into the episode. He's one of South Africa's most outspoken political commentators and broadcasters. JJ Tabane has built a career asking the questions others avoid and answering them even more boldly. In this SMWX conversation, we dive into his take on Gayton McKenzie's political maneuvers, the Mkhwanazi allegations shaking parliament, the GNU, and more. Get ready for another blockbuster episode with one of your favorite guests, JJ Tabane. Thank you so much for joining us on SMWX.
Thank you for inviting me for the umpteenth time.
Your videos always get so many views, so you're a favorite of the audience. What can we say?
No, thank you, and congratulations for establishing a solid platform.
Thank you.
When it was not when it was not easy, it was not a favorite thing to do, etc. People didn't even think it was gonna work. And right now, we now are talking about how we can regulate you now.
Yeah,
I'm
going to be regulated soon. I'm also going to get BCCSA complaint.
Yeah, it's actually a very interesting conversation. Should we be going that direction? Because remember, if you think about it, how McG, for example, got to do what he was fired from his station, right? Because they wanted to tell him what to say, what to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Now we've found a corner where we can do pretty much what we like in the form of podcasts and those kind of if you like, generated content. Now the mainstream are saying, hey, these people must be regulated.
The mainstream is worried. It's interesting. So I won't mention names, but so I always used to invite people who worked on big TV shows. You came when you were on eNCA and all that. And then suddenly now, they're not allowed to come here anymore.
You are joking.
I've had two people who said to me, sorry, I can't.
Not allowed. Yeah, because when they are here, they can say pretty much what they like. No script, no stricture, so to speak.
Exactly.
Right, and that should be, for me, that should be the issue about enhancing freedom of expression. Right, because unfortunately, what the podcast environment has now done, it is showing up how the mainstream media try to be thought police. Even the ones who you think are radical, you'll be shocked what happens in the background or in terms of how they choose topics, who they choose to come on, how they actually, in a sense, generate an environment of self-censorship. So they will not come straight to you to say, we don't want you to interview so and so.
It'll be,
it will be an interesting maneuver. And if you are working for them full time, you're not an independent person who can tell them to go away, right? Then you have to think twice about your job, because they could make you to be on the streets very fast.
Yeah, very true. Well, let's hope we don't get regulated too soon, but we'll see what happens.
But don't you think there should be some guidelines at least?
Sure,
I mean, this thing that has happened with this podcast, and Mike G is now being dragged to court by Minnie Dlamini and what have you. Maybe maybe not particularly regulations as such, but a framework where you could actually guide people about how you could still exercise those freedoms, right? Without being disagreeable. I mean, I was not on a I don't know if it was a podcast or what it is, where somebody just was swearing at me the whole morning. Is that what you would do on SABC? Not particularly.
I suppose there needs to be some kind of middle where I think the great thing about this moment is there's so much freedom that, yes, terrible things happen, but also beautiful things are being born outside of the rules. So we don't want to limit those things too much, but sure, you can't just go and do whatever you want and say whatever you want and expect no consequences. So yeah.
I think our politicians in particular have managed to hide behind those strictures. I mean, I was taken to court by 2 ministers.
Wow.
No, out of 7, there were 2 ministers. So this minister, I think it was Minister Nglesi.
Yeah.
Right. I called him incompetent.
Yeah.
I called him incompetent, something I can repeat many times. And then he took me to CCMA and then wrote a long letter to say this is beyond freedom of expression. I'm not insulting him. I'm just characterizing his work.
Sure.
You understand? So he goes to BCCSA to say, no, but this guy is calling me incompetent. This is, and then they say to him, sorry, it's his opinion. Okay? Then my friend, Minister Faizan, sent me, also went to BCCSA because I called him arrogant. And then he says that was hate speech. Believe it, I'm telling you, it's true. He went to BCCSA to take me to say to call him arrogant because he was saying not under his over his dead body will there be an implementation of the expropriation bill, right? So I said, but this is arrogant. How do you say that when you are part of a government, right?
Sure.
No, his case was that it's hate speech. I'm not joking with you.
Wow.
And I'm just giving you just 2 examples. I can spend the whole evening. I've been to BCCA more than 7-8 times over the last 2 years. With the same outcome, almost except for one case, same outcome that says sorry, it's his opinion. So our politicians have a thin skin, man.
So true.
They've got a bloody thin skin, if I may put it that way. All right, and that's. That's what behind this thing of let's regulate them, let's keep them quiet and what have you.
And to be honest, this new digital space is not good for the ANC either because they have no control anymore over the space, and I can see that they are a bit worried about it because they just don't know. I mean, everyone is worried, but particularly them. I think they're starting to realize that as things shift. The SABC, for example, it's massive, it's important, but it's not necessarily what it used to be. So there they had that key lever, but there's no lever here. So we'll see what happens.
It's true. The issue is that our constitution, unlike when we had no constitution at all, and it was under parliamentary majority or whatever, right? It's very clear about freedom of expression, and it specifically says freedom of the press. When they were writing the constitution, when they were saying the press, at that point they didn't think citizen journalism.
Yeah,
there was no social media. At the time the constitution was written, there was actually no social media. There was not even email, by the way. Okay, so I think the writers of the constitution may have to go back and now be as specific as they were about freedom of the press, about the freedom of what you are doing now. I don't know whether it's can you still call it the press? I don't know.
Yeah, I also don't know. I don't even know how we define
maybe
it.
Maybe the press must now be redefined. And as the society redefines itself, etc., right? Even the meaning of what that constitutional clause was about could evolve.
Speaking of things that have been exciting the interest of the press, General Mkhwanazi, my goodness. I mean, where do we begin? How do you react to his bombshell press conference and all that has followed since then?
My reaction was that of skepticism initially.
Interesting.
Right? Thinking, why is he doing this? Is he doing this as a preemptive strike and what have you? So those are some of the initial thoughts. I put down a piece in the Times where I was dealing with whistleblowing. You would remember during the State Capture Commission, there were whistleblowers who had to leave the country.
Yeah.
Right? You would think that if a commission was going to cost 1 billion rand, they could, from this billion, find some money to protect whistleblowers, to do for that state capture commission what would be called witness protection service or witness protection regime of some kind, if you're intending to get the truth out. Because if you intend to get the truth out, you need people inside who will have the courage to say what's going on. But you didn't have there was no framework, right? And so people were then afraid to come through. So you can imagine, and that was a sample which is with the public spectacle, and you can imagine what happens behind the scenes. You end up with people who are actually being killed. I mean, we've had just in the last couple of months, people who were killed. I think there were 2 auditors who were killed in East Rand. Ekurhuleni. There were a couple of people in municipalities who lost their jobs because they dared to blow the whistle, etc. So when I saw what Mkhwanazi did, I said, the idea was to say, whistleblowing is not just for the minions. Whistleblowing must even be for people who are in position of authority with a relevant conscience.
So true. So important, actually.
Right? Because remember, as he was doing that press conference, he was risking his job. Right? And there was nothing stopping, by the way, these politicians from firing him. In fact, there is a rumor, I don't like peddling rumors, but there's a rumor that, there are people, who are very close to the president who actually want to encourage him to fire Mkhwanazi. Some are hoping that through this commission, which I can tell you now, in my view, it's unnecessary. Right?
Unnecessary.
Yeah, it's unnecessary.
Okay, we'll get into
because
that.
It's an excuse for inaction, if you think about it. Right?
Sure.
If you are running an organization, in this case, you are running an executive as the president, and in a sensitive area like state security and so on, police. You don't have the luxury of 6 months of twiddling your thumbs.
So true. And you have full control over the police as the president as well.
It's not like Mkhunu can take you to CCMA. What is CCSM? You can't. CCMA. He's behaving that way. Right. But in a sense, he's demonstrating an entrapment, or rather, he's demonstrating that he's trapped in the fact that he has a cloud hanging over him. These people have defended him. I mean, how do you explain that you went to a conference of the ANC with 6,000 delegates and the matter never even came up, which was in the public arena for months? And a month before that conference, there was even a judicial committee or parliament, I don't remember what it was called, led by a retired judge, saying he has got a case to answer. And 6,000 delegates didn't bother to raise the matter. They came there twice because remember it was, the conference didn't finish. And then
it got kicked to the next NEC.
And in all of those iterations, nothing. Okay. So true. He still remembers that.
That strategy.
So he can't be fast to act, even if it's glaring in his face. Right? He could have just called Mkhwanazi and said, come here, tell me what the story is. Mkhwanazi brings the evidence. He assesses it and says to Mkhunu, sorry, too much heat, step aside. Right? That's the renewal that he promised us.
Exactly. And Mkhunu would still be an MP at that point as well. He wouldn't be a minister still.
Which is part of the problem, because they think that they could dump all the crooks into parliament. You understand? Mkhwanazi is fired, for misbehaving, but she's good enough for parliament.
I
mean, that's crazy. This is what is a problem in this country, that there are so many double standards everywhere. Everywhere you look, there's a double standard.
So true. I mean, Ramaphosa acts decisively with Andrew Whitfield, whatever you think about it. But clearly, he has the power. But then with Mkhunu, suddenly it's about a commission and we need to wait. So
why didn't you do a commission inquiry to inquire whether this chap defied him.
Yeah.
And this fellow says, no, but I wrote to you didn't answer me.
You blue ticked me.
So there's too much double standard. Right? Secondly, this thing is almost like a blackmail setup, right? That's why Gayton McKenzie is, even after a ridiculous attempt to review the commission, he's still there. Nobody has asked him to go away or to step aside or whatever the case may be.
Sure.
Mkhwanazi is not told us about her chickens and whisk. She's not told us what the story is. Nobody. Apparently now she also is taking the matter on review. Right? There's another chap, another deputy minister, Mkhwanazi, I think it is. I don't know. He's no longer a deputy minister now, but he used to be a deputy minister of defense. Okay, he also installed he's a minister of defense, right? They installed cameras in his house, and he's still waiting for them to invoice him. That's what he's telling us.
It's like the buffalo.
Yeah.
The buffalo
Well, Gwede doesn't know. They installed cameras. Doesn't know who installed cameras in his house. So it's all these stories that are taking the public for idiots.
Yeah.
We're supposed to numb ourselves and listen to these stories, right? And the politicians, I don't know whether it would be an exaggeration to say they just laugh. I'm sure when they're in their own little room where we are not there, they just laugh to say they think they could actually hold us accountable. They must forget it.
Do you think Ramaphosa will be or should be a witness at this commission? Because it would seem to me there are a number of things we need to know from him.
Absolutely. You've just preempted a piece that I've put together to run probably next week about why he must come and account.
Absolutely.
At the commission. He's established a commission. He must go and account as the same commission.
Exactly.
Right? In fact, the commission would be failing in his duty if they don't call the head of the intelligence. He's the head of intelligence. He decided to put it in his office. Remember, let's all remember.
Yeah.
Instead of appointing a minister of intelligence, at some point he says, no, I'll give a minister in my office this responsibility. At some point, in fact, it was right directly under him.
Yeah.
So obviously, unless he's joking, that Madlanga will have to summon him. Right, and we're gonna hear all sorts of stories about it's sensitive issues of national security. Maybe they'll say what is in camera. We're gonna hear all sorts of stories for us not to get the accountability that we need.
That's one thing that I'm quite worried about. That we, everyone or many people celebrated this commission. Oh, we'll get to hear the story, but it's not clear that it will all be transparent. And these tricks may be played where secrecy is used as a veil to prevent accountability.
I'm not sure who was celebrating the commission in their rightful mind. I mean, look at how many commissions we have had. Okay? Mumpati Commission. Because, sometimes we can talk and say, there were many commissions and we passed. There are people who are watching, right, who actually don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So let's do a quick checklist. Mumpati Commission is supposed to investigate the arms deal. All right? Nothing happened. Literally. In fact, I think it was set aside after years of it sitting. Then somebody took it to court and it was set aside. Okay? Phala Commission.
Seriti Commission.
Yeah, so there's no Siriti. Siriti is finished. I'm done with it.
Sure.
Yeah, nothing happened. Okay. Phala, Ramaphosa is yet to go to Marikana. Despite what happened in that commission, and so you'd have thought after it has found that he was not as guilty as we all thought,
what an important point.
At least go there.
We've actually, and people have forgotten that undertaking was even made, and no, it was made in a public funeral here in Orlando. Anniversary is coming up soon, actually.
I think that they are now going to 13th anniversary of Marikana. Anyway,
Marikana, nothing.
Okay, state capture, nothing.
And 5 years, and it's still ongoing.
State capture mentioned more than 98 people who are mostly ANC members. Not one of them has spent a single day in prison or even been reprimanded by their own party. Let's forget about the inefficient NPA that has failed dismally. I think we need to say that. The problem is that Batoyi was a favorite of the media, was a media darling when she started here in 2019 or whatever it is, 5 years ago. Wow. Being praised and so on, as if the whatever shines out of him, her armpits or whatever. Right? Now she can't show us one orange overall of a serious person. I'm talking about a big fish here. Don't tell me about millions of pickpocketers. I'm talking about people who stole billions. Right? And those people, some of those people are even, they left the country under her watch. When the State Capture Commission was on for years, there was evidence every day of wrongdoing. Did somebody said the NPA shouldn't arrest people? I'm not aware that the commission said as long as you are sitting, the NPA must do, the hawks mustn't, the police mustn't arrest. No. No, she said that and said, no, just waiting. And now there's a new controversy. Oh, no, the Department of Justice is refusing with the transcripts. So she's telling me, right, that as that commission was going on, the NPA did not hire somebody to be on a watching brief, to sit there and listen. They didn't record the thing themselves, which was on TV every day. This country is a true movie.
Yeah.
You understand? You got an MPA that doesn't have capacity to just monitor, an ongoing telltale of crime and crookedness. They should have had somebody there full time to say you must take notes, do whatever, bring a tape, etc. Record
anything. Even a phone is fine.
And we just need, honestly, in 5 years, but he's telling me that she couldn't arrest just one solitary politician, one who's been cited as corrupt in municipalities and what. The Auditor-General, right?
Yeah.
Releases a report annually of theft, broad daylight theft. Can I just be told, just one person who's in prison for it?
Well, the infuriating thing is that not only are they not punished, in fact, those who are cited in the report, and these reports get promoted.
Oh no, that makes me furious. That makes me mad, right? And that's why I believe that these guys should truly be laughing.
Yeah.
Right? Yes. They should truly be laughing at us shouting. You're just asking me now to say, what now? What of your rant? Yeah. Well, if you go and look at the rant that I did 5 years ago, talking about Gwede Mantashe and Tito Mboweni. They are laughing. The General Secretary of the ANC is calling Gwede a tiger. In the midst of your Women's Month and gender-based violence and so on, you got a minister who's prancing around, very, very proud to be a tiger. And it's okay. We've normalized rubbish in this country. We've normalized it. And we've got ourselves to blame.
So true.
We've got ourselves to blame. But why is the ANC undermining us? Yeah, because we've allowed them. We've allowed them. As I was driving here, there was apparently a report which I must reach out to Professor Susan Boyce, and I'm sure apparently she was the lead researcher on this.
Okay.
That says that the ANC, the part of what's making the GNU dysfunctional is that the ANC has not accepted that they have lost elections.
And they haven't. They really haven't.
I don't even think we needed the research for that. I mean, you just have to listen to my Mbalula. You think these people are in power. They're powerful. They have won elections with a landslide.
So there was this ANC chairperson, Soviet Lekhanyani, who's been appointed. And you think to yourself, but how has this happened? So the ANC is now chairing the committee investigating
itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're like, but South Africans took all this power away from the ANC, and yet somehow the political system keeps putting them back into these positions of authority.
No. You're quite right. I think that our opposition, unfortunately, we are in a situation where our opposition is not as strong as it should be.
Yeah.
Okay, because why did they not dig their heels, as all of the opposition parties, to say, but you can't chair the thing.
Absolutely.
Your member of the executive is at the center of the storm. Right? So don't you think you should allow another party to chair? No. That you should have heard how arrogant my friend Kusela Diko was about it. Saying that people are there, they're speaking, to the cameras. Are you speaking to the cameras when you say, but you are going to be biased? I mean, it's so obvious.
Yeah.
You don't even have to have a master's degree to understand what is conflict of interest. You don't need you don't need a degree. Even with those metric that are within that GNU, they should understand what is conflict of interest. Yeah, the DA is part of why is the opposition has been weakened by joining the GNU. Actually, the DA, in a sense, weakened the opposition.
I think the DA, in some ways, has been semi-captured in a way.
No, I don't know why you say semi. They've been captured. They've got 6 blue lights. You understand?
Yeah.
And I'm not just saying it flippantly.
Yeah.
Before they could even get in, part of the deal making, and they can come and deny it all they want, was that we will not impeach Ramaphosa.
Sure.
Right? 6 months before that, they wanted Ramaphosa in orange overalls. To say he's a money launderer, he's a terrible president who's unaccountable. Even a judge said he has a case to answer. And I'm not even. I don't even have to quote them verbatim. This is what they were saying, right? Both John and Helen together.
Suddenly,
I don't know how sudden it was. It was purely, and remember, they were going to the moon.
Yeah, sure.
Right? They were on their way to the moon, moonshot, whatever it is. Now, when all of that fell apart at the polls, they then said, Zille is just, I called at that roast, I summarized her by saying she's an insufferable hypocrite. Insufferable hypocrite. In fact, those who were not at the roast only got a quarter of what I told her to her face. And I wasn't there to joke. I know it was a roast. I wasn't there to joke. I was telling her exactly what I think. Right? Why is she an insufferable hypocrite? She says, it's a joke. She says, we'll never, impeach a president that we have just elected. How? But you told us she's a crook. What must we believe now? Right? Now, when the same Ramaphosa then says to them, I'm putting Bella whether you like it or not, I'm putting NHR whether you like it or not, I'm putting expropriation. They are now starting to say, maybe we must impeach him after all. These guys think we are idiots. And it's sad because that conduct is coming from both the left and the right.
Yeah.
When you listen to Mkhwanazi, you think, is it the same people? Is it the same people who were in charge for 10 years and so on? They want to give us the stuff they failed to give us when they were in charge. Almost all of them were in charge of something or the other in society.
Yeah.
Whether they were in charge of Transnet or in charge in the judiciary, in charge in the government.
The country itself.
You sit there and think, maybe they've turned a new leaf. I don't know what else to say. Maybe they've turned a new leaf.
Yeah.
So we've got an opposition that can be, I believe, can be stronger.
Absolutely.
And part of what's making it weak is that it's not united.
The ANC is actually able to divide them whenever it needs to.
No, it's divided them completely. I mean, what is Musi doing? What they are saying is a chairperson of appropriations committee. Appropriate what? He's got no decision-making part, decision-making, power of any kind. And congratulations to him for getting his doctorate. He's getting that right. Get educated, because at least he has an option to go and work. The trouble with politicians there is that some of them don't have an option of working anywhere. They've never worked in their lives. All they've known is to be in parliament and chew bubble gum there and do wrong things.
On the subject of the DA, I want to play you a clip because as we're speaking, in the week that we're speaking, John Steenhuisen gave this speech. And again, it was one of those strange speeches where on the one hand, he's criticizing the ANC. On the other hand, he's saying, well, we're still here to guide you. Let's take a look at what he said.
And while this country is bleeding, and while our people are suffering, the government wants to now spend hundreds of millions of rands on a national dialogue, a talk shop with no action, no reform, no plan, and now by the looks of things, even more dwindling support, with the announcements of further major foundations withdrawing from it. And even former President Mbeki, who at the time was incredibly critical of our withdrawal from the GNU, which he expressed in an open letter, has now come to exactly the same conclusion that we came to, that this is an insider stitch-up designed so that the ANC can revive its electoral fortune.
So, I mean, I agree with that, the national dialogue, but I mean, what do you make of that from the DA, that they've withdrawn from the national dialogue, but they're in the government, but they're going to threaten a motion of no confidence, but they're open to negotiations?
These guys are bloody hypocrites. Blue, maybe I was calling blue because bloody it's red. Blue hypocrites. These guys. Okay? There have been discussions about the national dialogue for more than a year. The dialogue it was not discussed 2 months ago. It's been on the agenda, right, since probably September last year. That's when the foundations came together and announced we're going to have this dialogue, etc., etc.
I think it was even in the statement of intent. I think there was something about we'll all move towards a dialogue or something.
Absolutely. All I'm saying is that it was not something that the ANC decided, woke up and said there's going to be a dialogue tomorrow, etc.
Absolutely.
So the question is, as they were discussing, because they are saying they're governing better, whatever they govern, so I assume that when they're in national government, there'll also be a better government, at least where they've got some kind of influence and control. They're in cabinet. So they're telling me that since September last year, they never asked the question. They didn't raise their hand in the comments. Sorry, this thing that you are doing, how much will it cost? Can somebody tell us? Or maybe they asked and nobody responded, which would be very serious for me. That what else are they, what other balls are they dropping in that cabinet? If they are telling us so late in the day that the reason they are not going there is because it's going to cost 700 million.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so that's hypocrisy at its best. Secondly, right, unless these guys are living in another planet, but in this planet, in the smallest micro existence, right, there is a phrase called "we need to talk." That's when your wife tells you, you know you're in trouble. We need to talk, right? As this country, we need to talk. We're not saying that's all we need to do, but clearly we need to talk, right? We need to talk about social cohesion. We need to talk about unemployment. We need to talk about the time bomb that is youth unemployment. We need to talk about the time bomb that is inequality. I know my friend Rob doesn't think there'll ever be a uprising. Right? The bloody arrogance the bloody white arrogance, actually. Same way that P.W. Botha didn't think. He said over his dead body there will ever be a black president in this country. I'm sure at that time white people were clapping like they were clapping for Rob. They were clapping for him until he was out of power himself, right? And replaced by de Klerk, right? Who himself had to kicking and screaming, go to 2nd of February 1990. Right? So we need to talk about those things and not be so complacent as to think we can just carry on here in the suburbs here in Sandton, right? When across the road there people are living with rats, and we think those people will never do anything to us. Will never come over our big Bryanston walls. We need to talk, right, to say how are we going to get out of this rut that this economy is. Does it have to cost $1 million, another, billion rand? Because 700 is a billion. And you know, government always underestimates any project.
Yeah.
If they say something's going to cost 400, what are now at 452 million, you must know it's 800 million.
I think the Zondo Commission itself was also supposed to be
exactly
hundreds of millions.
Yeah.
They dispute the 700 million figure.
And then, you know what is crazy is that they then issue a statement. I don't know who issued this statement, and I really apologize in advance if maybe it was a fake thing. They issue a statement saying University of South Africa is going to host and everything will be free. Who the hell funds University of South Africa?
It was a presidency
crazy.
statement. I saw that. Yeah.
Who funds the University of South Africa? Who subsidizes universities? So they're saying, no, as long as we can couch it, it's not actual money, it's a venue. Who maintains that venue? Who hires people who work there? No. It's not quite like that. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, the foundation's pulling out also delivers another blow to this national dialogue. I must say, I've been skeptical from the start of this national dialogue. I just think, it's similar to the commissions in my view. You may have a different view.
Yeah, I'm not skeptical about dialogues. I would be out of a job otherwise.
Sure, let's say
dialoguing.
This dialogue.
Yeah, dialoguing must happen.
No, that matters. Sure.
Right, dialoguing must happen. It doesn't have to cost 700 million.
Yeah, sure. Doesn't have to be government-led.
The cabinet is about 35 ministers? If you add the deputy ministers, let's say the executive is 70 something. Half of these guys, and I'm not even a conservative estimation. Half of these guys, you don't know their voice. If they walked here in the mall,
absolutely,
you meet them, you not know. I know Malema used to make this joke that you realize as people are walking around with bodyguards that there must be a deputy minister, and you say, hey, but this is a deputy minister. Hey, really? Right? Imagine if there was a dialogue between those people, 70 of them, right, and what they call their constituencies.
Sure.
Right now, Parliament is closed. There's something called constituency work,
which is just
I don't know what it means anymore.
Right?
There used to be something called constituency offices. So you'd actually go to somewhere where there's an office where you can find your MP, your MPL, your councillor, and you talk to them. Apparently, it's supposed to be like that. Right? I lived in Midrand area long ago, for about 20 years. In that 20 years, I've never met my councillor or a ward councillor. I can't even tell you who was the ward councillor there. And you can't tell me that the ward councillor couldn't come to what is called complex and leave a note saying, I'm your ward councillor of this ward of Vona Valley. And here's my number if you got a problem. Right? I'm saying that there are a lot of gaps where the dialogue could be going on and it is not.
Absolutely.
And that's partly why we need to talk, right? To plant a seed of a new way right, of accountability, of closing the gap between the governed and the governors.
If it's a citizens' dialogue, or I'm happy. I'm not very much on board with government dictating the dialogue, though, because they need to be the subject of the dialogue.
No, it's true. But look, if I'm fortunately, I've never been a deputy. I don't have ambitions to be a minister. But if I were a minister, let's say a minister of communications, I would obviously then understand who's my constituency. My constituency then is maybe all the community stations. There are about 300 of them. Ask if I can, if we can make a bet here and ask Solima Ladzi how many community radio stations has he visited for the last year when he probably been to 2. There are 300 of these stations. That's his constituency, that's his primary constituency, right? Then there's the radio stations, the other commercial radio stations, SABC radio stations, etc. So you don't have to go and do something complicated in your area. So John Steenhuisen, I expect him to be talking to small agricultural farmers.
No.
Or whatever, or commercial farmers or whatever. I'm sure he does that, right? So for me, the design of this dialogue must not be so complex as to now want to be like a meeting. And then you do a meeting, and then from there you say, oh, thank you very much, here's a resolution, bye-bye. But a way of governing, the way of being governed, the way of co-governing, right? So it's not like they must lead the dialogue. No, it can still be citizens-led, because even in terms of what is expected of what council, they're expected to call meetings every month. It's not a dreaming thing. It's in the constitution. They're supposed to call regular meetings of communities. Right? How many communities can claim they have been in a ward meeting?
Yeah.
You know, I was talking to a municipality in the Northwest who had councillors who happened to be in my class last year at VETS. And I was asking them, okay, just tell me how many people come to your ward? Okay, how many people are in your ward? They say, no, they didn't make the big numbers. Somebody said 4 million people or something in their ward. Then I asked, how many people come to your ward meeting? He says, if it's 200, we'll be lucky. Right? So it shows you that disconnect.
Absolutely.
Right? And so if this dialogue movement can revive people's ability to hold their leaders accountable, and an ability to have a new way, right, of pulling the society together, I think it would have achieved something. It doesn't replace accountability, doesn't replace the fact that there must be service delivery, etc. And I'm not aware that having a dialogue means everything else must stop and we must now just talk.
The GNU is in an interesting place. Minister Gayton McKenzie is the latest in the public spotlight. We've had these statements of his that have come up from the past when he was criticizing a podcast for being racist. And it's actually ignited a very interesting and a fascinating debate about what racism looks like, not necessarily only in the context of anti-black racism perpetrated by white South Africans, which we're very familiar with, but what happens, you know, when we're talking about colored community, black South Africans, and it's ignited some tensions there as well. What do you make of his statements and the blowback he's received?
Yeah, I suppose it's a dichotomous thing. I mean, of something called if you live in a glass house, don't throw stones, right? But at the same time, you know, do you criticize only when you become perfect a human being? That's what I'm saying. It's a dichotomy.
Sure.
On one side, people could say, yeah, don't throw. He threw stones, but he forgot his glass house of what he used to be, right? And the others could say, no, well, we must be able to call each other out if something is wrong. You may characterize it whatever you want it. You may actually characterize simply as lack of manners. not even racism. Before we got to racism, it could just be something of lack of manners. Because where are the parents of those kids? Did their parents call them to say, but you can't say that? Right? So I think I will not fault him for being outraged and whatever, right? But I will blame him for these things that he said before.
Sure.
That also then should get him to, in a sense, moderate how he's going to be critical now of these kids. Because actually when he was saying those things, he was not even a kid himself. He was already a grown man.
True. One criticism, and I do think one needs to be fair to him, because some of the old tweets I've seen actually look like he's disagreeing with the quote in the tweet.
Yeah.
But one thing that I think is a legitimate criticism of the way he's handled this is when Ronaldo Gous, was accused of having used the K word in that media storm with that video where they selected a clip. He was like, no, let's defend him. Like, don't judge a book by its cover and all of that. But with these open chats, podcasters, it was suddenly like, because it was his identity at stake now, we must shut the whole thing down. Now, I think he should have been equally critical of both, rather than just when it affects the colored community. So that is one thing where I was thinking, why was there that double standard?
There was a double standard. That's what I was saying right at the beginning of our chat, that there's too many double standards going around, right? And that's part of it. Partly it's part of a democracy, in a sense that we need to hold each other accountable.
Yeah, sure.
If there was no need to hold each other accountable, then there would, I suppose, there would be no need for people to express their views as they see them.
Absolutely.
So I share your sentiments that there's a little bit of a double standard. But South Africans have a way of being too, how can I put it, too crucify him mentality.
Sure.
Everywhere, But I suppose as we grow as a democracy, we'll get to know and realize that part of what has brought us here, despite all of the difficulties and so on, is part of that forgiveness culture that's necessary to build a nation. And it's not a thing that comes easy, or that can come easy to people who believe they're too radical, for forgiveness. What am I talking about? 20 years ago, I don't know how old you were at that point, but Mbeki, when he was president first time, he had a premier, a chap called Matangu from Mpumalanga. Was a premier from Mpumalanga.
Okay. Yeah, this is before my time.
Yeah, this was way before your time. So this chap says, it's okay for politicians to lie. And I'm not joking. I'm not paraphrasing him. This is what he said in broad daylight.
Sure.
Right? And I don't even remember what the context was, but he said this, it's okay for people, for politicians to lie. We know that politicians lie a lot of times, but it'd be difficult to find a politician who would stand on a public platform and actually express it like that and say, it's okay for politicians to lie.
Yeah.
Hey, now there was a big uproar. And people calling on the president to fire him. There was a big storm. Mbeki had this thing of letting you talk to yourselves for weeks, and he doesn't say anything. And then when he comes to talk, you would regret why you even started the debate. That's one of his talents.
Yeah.
So he goes to parliament, and it's a state of a nation, and people are now paying for the blood of Mahlangu. Ndaweni Mahlangu. And he just quashed that with simple thing that says, he just quoted the Bible. And opposition, if they used to quote the Bible that on the part that says "Don't steal," I would be very happy. But anyway, he quoted the Bible that says, he quoted this whole area where people wanted to crucify Christ. To say they were all saying, "Crucify him, crucify him," right? And then you'd remember there was a story in the Bible that's linked to it, where a prostitute was called into the, apparently in the olden days you could just punish you by stoning you. So they would just drag her to the to the outskirts of the town, and Jesus came there and said, "Let the one without sin cast the first stone." Right? I don't want to be on this bad side of Mbeki. So he wrote the letter, 17-page letter to Mapshatile, then another 17-page letter to John Steenhuisen. So I don't want to receive a letter. So I'm not quoting him verbatim, but I'm saying in summary, that's what he used to say. Oh yes, he said this thing, but who amongst you are perfect?
Sure.
He was actually trying to tell them it's true what he said. And you ourselves some of you are liars. And he's just happened to have told the truth. Right? So there's a crucify him mentality in South Africa. Now, Gayton McKenzie, on average in a year, if you look at all the ministers in the GNU, has done a pretty decent job in terms of raising the profile of sports and culture. And I believe, and I hope, I won't be disappointed that he's been reaching out to artists, trying to get people to do sports and culture differently. Right? I don't think he must just be crucified on the basis of this only. Right? He needs to be called to order, and hopefully he'll have the sense of being humble about it, right? And not try to be, to in a sense quash these kids instead of being part of building social cohesion. That is part of his job. Part of his job is social cohesion, and the way he's gonna do it, because with social cohesion, it's not just about the actual social cohesion as a project, but it's also how you're gonna do it.
Yeah.
Right. The whole thing about the national dialogue, I've only heard him, giving direction on the national dialogue, because in fact, I don't know if you remember, about maybe 20 years ago again, Paul Mashatile at that point was the Minister of Arts and Culture. He was tasked with social cohesion. To do that, he had to do dialogues at that point. Well, maybe I'm not sure that's a very good argument that they can use now, because we'll say, well, what happened to those dialogues? Right? There's a sense in which sometimes our public discourse, if you go on Twitter, if you go to social media and so on, is very vindictive, and and everybody wants to show off the other one. Sure. And just we short of just killing each other, because we already kill each other with so many murders per day. But even just killing the soul has become our modus operandi as a country. That's why you can't even have a proper discussion about this race thing and so on, because it would be like, oh no, because now the colors are under fire. It's become a big issue. Blacks are being insulted all the time, etc. White people calling. I mean, I was in a forum where your friend Rob was calling all of government morons. I'm not sure whether that's racism or what it is. I don't know, this government are morons. I mean, you say something like that so easy, right? And I don't think there was an there was no uproar over that, because he seems to have gotten away with saying that without anybody challenging him.
Yeah, sure. The discourse at the moment is very unforgiving of people.
Very toxic.
Yeah.
Truly toxic.
Since we last spoke, you left eNCA. Are you able to share any details as to why? Because obviously your show was always doing very well.
Yes, I mean, my contract, came to an end, and we parted ways nicely with eNCA after 5 truly fantastic years.
And on live TV, that's like 5 decades.
I know. 5 fantastic years.
Some of us only lasted 5 weeks.
No, look, I mean, I have to praise eNCA, especially a fellow called Norman, who's the managing director there. He's the one who recruited me, and his exact words were, come and do pretty much, your staff will not tell you what to do. He knew how to put a preamble in front of recruiting me. He won't tell you what to do.
Yeah.
And I'll be lying if I told you that in these 5 years, save 1 or 2 times, we had even serious arguments about who must come, who must be talked, what must I say on the platform, etc. Like any other show of that nature, at some point it becomes uncomfortable. Otherwise, it shouldn't exist.
Sure.
It's like the first editor who gave me a chance to be a columnist.
Yeah.
He said, if your column doesn't cause some people to move uncomfortably in their chairs, don't write it. What's the point? What's the point? So it was the same thing. A TV show like that, at some point, even the bosses would say, hey, can you just slow down a little bit, man? Just give us a break.
Yeah.
So understood that. I enjoyed my time there. I think I've made the necessary impact, and it was time to do something else.
Sure.
Something else is cooking. I'm not in a hurry. I'm taking a break. I'm now at least able to be home for dinner, which I've not been able to do for years.
Wonderful.
Because I've always worked in the evenings, whether be it on radio or newsroom or eNCA. So at least a kind of a new way of things that are happening. I'm enjoying my new responsibility at VETS as a lecturer there. I'm lecturing now honor students in media and politics.
Lovely.
Still adjunct professor of media studies at University of Botswana, also doing some great work with projects, really of looking at beginning to shape Africa's voice, right? And we're doing work in a number of continents. Frank Dialogue also taking shape. We're doing dialogues in various parts of the continent. We're doing some dialogues in Zambia, in Kenya this year. So the next 6 months quite busy with dialogues, not the national dialogue,
sure.
in other parts of the world.
That's a good one. So in terms of the eNCA thing, the one thing I wanted to ask, because you actually interviewed Julius when the EFF had stayed away from eNCA for a long time. What was that like, actually bringing Julius back onto the platform and doing that interview?
Yeah. Once again, just big kudos to Norman, the MD, as well as Julius himself.
Absolutely.
Right? They both tasked me to say, can you get us together and let's talk?
Maybe I can ask you to bring them onto SMWX.
Don't worry, it will happen.
Yeah.
As I told you the last time, just take it easy. My wife always tells me, don't worry, eventually they will come.
Yeah.
Right? And there hasn't been anybody except Thabo. There's not been anybody in this country who's not been to my platform over the last 7 years or whatever.
Yeah.
Right? Because at the end, eventually people want an outlet. Right? Initially they may want to run away and whatever. They want an outlet.
Yeah.
So anyway, Norman and Julius, both of them at some point said, guys, it's enough now. It's been 5 years.
Yeah, sure.
Right? A meeting was convened. They had a discussion about how we can resolve this issue. EFF needs eNCA, eNCA also needs EFF. They both need the numbers of each other.
Sure.
And then out of that meeting, the initial meeting, there wasn't an agreement. They said, well, in principle, we want this thing to work. Let's put something together that will make both parties happy. And that's not complex. After that, if something was put together, I was instructed to go and put something together, give it back to both of them. They mulled over it with their delegations, and before the EFF's conference in Nazareth, the deal was made.
Wow.
Right. With this kind of things, there's always a blame issue to say, who pulled out, who did this, how can you do this to us? And but at some point, leaders must be able to, to let the bygones be bygones.
Sure.
Right? In a democracy, you need a solid opposition, you need a solid media, and if those two polars, right, don't work together to strengthen democracy, you're going to have trouble. Yeah. In all democracies that have collapsed around the world, the first thing to go is proper opposition parties or a multi-party democracy. Secondly, a free press. Once a free press goes, see what have just happened in Gaza.
Atrocious.
Right? This happened this weekend.
Yeah.
Where journalists were killed.
Al Jazeera journalists, many others, of course.
But the sad part is not new.
Yeah.
2 years ago, or less than 2 years, when this war started, Israel banned Al Jazeera from covering that war within its borders. Very few news organizations said anything.
Yeah.
In fact, one of my friends I said, no, eNCA even has not even said anything. Yeah. Right? Today's Al Jazeera, tomorrow it will be eNCA.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And it is just a lack of solidarity in the media space that sometimes worries me. Right? Even now, if I can go and look for a media statement from SABC, eNCA here about what happened to those journalists in Gaza, I won't find it.
Yeah.
I'll be very surprised. I have not seen even Sanef saying anything. Is it because it's far away, or what is it? Or it's got nothing to do with us? I mean, if we had 6 SABC journalists killed, there will be an outrage. Or journalists in Eswatini. Right? So it's important that in any democracy, there's a multi-party, how can I put it, a multi-party atmosphere. And not an atmosphere that says, if you belong to this too small a party, we're not listening to you and whatever.
Sure.
Right? Similarly, media organizations must be given the space to do their work.
Absolutely.
And I think for me, it was, as a media practitioner, it was something that was not sitting well with me.
Yeah.
That I could be at eNCA for 5 years and I've never been able to interview anybody from eNCA because they boycotted each other. eNCA and EFF boycotted each other.
Yeah, it was an important moment. I guess to round off the Ramaphosa presidency, I mean, we've had a fascinating set of discussions in different parts of this presidency.
Yeah.
We've spoken, I think the first big video, one of the first very big videos on SNWX was back when we were talking about load shedding.
Yeah. And there was load shedding as we were doing the interview.
Yeah. We've seen it through the terrible election results, the formation of the GNU. Now it stands at an interesting place, especially since the Mkhwanazi allegations, because I think those have kind of shifted public sentiment and officially destroyed the idea of the cleanup operation. But Ramaphosa he's still going. He's still the president of the country. He still survives up to this point. Yeah. How do you assess his presidency right now? Will you go to jail like Prince Mashela said?
I won't be that optimistic that he will go to prison, because I just can't get over the fact that there is R1 billion spent on a report and nothing has happened. Right? That gives me confidence, right? That the new dawn that we are promised has come to pass.
Yeah.
Understand? I really, in 2017, I was one of the loudest voices that represented what I can call a collective relief, sigh of relief.
I remember very well. And you spoke for many at that time.
Right? A collective to say, my God, we missed another Zuma bullet.
Yeah.
Of NDZ. Right? There was a collective, because we had been through so much of the 10 years of state capture and all of that. At that point, we didn't know it was state capture. But anyway, we had been through that 9 wasted years, let's say it. Right? Anything else was going to be better, in our view. Right? And we were promised heaven and earth, literally. We were promised renewal. We were promised anti-corruption. We were promised transparency. Right? And if you just look at just those three, and I'm not going to go to a lot of, what can you call it, fact sheet or whatever. Just those three. Just start with transparency. Who has funded President Cyril Ramaphosa's campaign for R500 billion? Can just somebody just tell us?
Yeah.
Are we asking for too much for something that big to just be known?
Or even just an interview. Just give an interview and answer the question.
No. He's already said no, he doesn't know. He said, I truly don't know. He told me straight in my face. Right? By the way, amongst the people who made up this 500 billion, somebody gave 55 million, just one person. And I asked the president, aren't you curious, man?
Yeah.
Just so that you can send the person the letter of thanks.
Yeah, even a WhatsApp or something.
So transparency, dead in the order.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
So in there, then you're talking about money in couches, Phala Phala, and all sorts of things.
Yeah, suppressed.
In that, exactly, And then the issue of anti-corruption. Here was an opportunity where Ramaphosa, with all his indecisiveness, had an instrument in his hand, which is a thick 5-volume report, right? That was indicating who he should at least suspect of wrongdoing. Let's say they're not convicted. That's fine. No, he appoints them in the cabinet. He says, no.
Twice.
I want to promote them until further notice. And it pains you when you hear a jurist like Zondo saying, I was embarrassed having to swear these people in office after I spent 4 years of my life listening to the horror story of their corruption. I had to swear them in. Basically, the president was basically laughing at me. I don't care what you found. That's a big failure.
Yeah.
Renewal.
Let's
not joke with each other. Right?
Yeah.
If anything, right, it looks like things have. If you read the state capture report, things were worse, and obviously the state capture report was a narrow focus. So it means that it's the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
You understand?
As these Mkhwanazi revelations reveal.
You see. So just if you look at just those three, you are going to have a difficulty giving Ramaphosa. If you as a student, I would give him 30. Right? Because 30 it looks like there's a number that they like. The same students can pass at 30. That's what you will get. Right? But maybe we should also then assess and say, what are the positive things that have happened under his presidency? I'm not sure whether you can venture.
I'm struggling.
No, come on, venture.
I've tried.
Just one.
I've tried before. There was a viral clip where I was trying to think of this. And
and you laughed at the president.
I know,
People didn't
I got
forgive you for that in the higher echelons. Anyway.
I know.
I'm not sure. There must be some good thing. First of all, I think, I'm sure there must be some good things that we can find in the presidency.
One thing I would say maybe is load shedding, but the problem is it got worse before it got better. But
no.
Yeah, load shedding is doing well.
No, I think it's important to say, and I was saying this at this breakfast, this famous breakfast, right? Because my friend Rob was very excited about Denmark. No. He's one of the parastatals leaders that have actually done what they are supposed to do. They stayed out of politics and just focused on their work.
Yeah, and look where we are now.
That's an excellent appointment.
Yeah.
And I think
very much so.
I didn't think it happened without Ramaphosa's say so. Right?
Yeah.
A lot of people were already skeptical. So, no. After the raid, they're now giving us some black person who left ESCOM way before and whatever.
Yeah.
He has proved us
absolutely. And
wrong.
even the appointment of Kgosientsho Ramokgopa as electricity minister, even creating an electricity minister, many people criticized it to say we don't need another minister, etc.
We're quite skeptical at the beginning to say not another minister of something.
Yeah, we can give him credit for that.
So I think the issue of turning around load shedding, right?
Yeah.
Although one may say it was part of his fault that there was load shedding in the first place, but it doesn't matter. The issue is at the end you got to resolve the problem.
Yeah.
Right? By the way, there's a parastatal that works called Telkom. I'm not sure whether you are aware. It's one of the parastatals that instead of asking for a bailout, they've been able to give dividends to government. Right? I like the idea, the drive of investments. And if you understand investments, it's not an overnight thing. If you don't plant a seed of investment, you can't expect under 10 years to reap rewards. Right? So I'm not the one who's going to say to cancel the thing in my mind and so. I obviously want to see a lot of those pledges converted more into real project, especially now. The tariffs and the global trade wars, etc. We are now going to be able to see whether we can reap the rewards of what has been Ramaphosa's big focus. He's had about 5, I think, investment conferences with numerous pledges.
You're making me think of another one, which is the ICJ case, which I think was excellent as well.
Yeah, well, it depends which side of the fence you're sitting on. Other people will say that that's what has cost us the tariffs.
Well,
but at the end of the day, when you pursue the truth, you don't have a guarantee that people are gonna clap for you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's unfortunately in our business of truth telling, people don't want to clap for you. In fact, they'll try and find something, to try and besmirch you and say, no. He's actually not as as upright as he thinks or whatever else. So South Africa will be clapped internationally by the powers that think, who do they think they are to take the mighty Israel, to account, to take them to task, So, yes, there are weaknesses in the presidency, but also let's give credit where it is due.
Well, JJ Tabane, thank you so much for another fantastic installment of SMWX. I think this is going to be the biggest one yet. And we look forward to your future projects and welcoming you back.
Thank you so much, Sizu, and keep it up. You are a shining rod, especially in this new media.
Sure.
You have been a pioneer, and I wish you well in your continued shake-up of the landscape.
Thank you, Prof. Appreciate it. Thank you for watching. Like, share, subscribe. A few announcements. Follow our new Instagram SMWX Clips channel. Subscribe. Help us reach that next milestone of 300,000 subscribers. Comment down below. Let us know how you are enjoying this episode, what you agree with, what you disagree with. You can pre-order the new white SMWX hoodie that you've all been asking for. And keep it locked on SMWX. We'll see you on the next one. Bye.